A little more than 20 years ago, I started looking at the history of dropping out, not so much the history of not finishing high school, since that was the norm 200 years ago, but the history of our thinking it is a problem and trying to do something about it. The first question was, when did we start using the term dropping out, and why? Novelist Edward Bellamy was the first to use it in reference to education back in the 19th century, but it didn't dominate public discussion of high school attendance and attrition until the 1960s. The puzzle is that's also the time when high school graduation clearly became the majority experience for American teenagers. So why did people start worrying about dropping out just at the time that they could expect teenagers to finish high school? Some people think it's the economy. Some clear threshold was passed in the 1960s that made it harder to get a good job without a high school diploma. The problem is that since the end of World War II, it has always been increasingly harder to get a good job without finishing high school. There was no tipping point threshold we can point to. I think it's the fact that the majority of high school students do graduate, and that by itself allowed graduation to become an expected behavior, or a norm. And those who did not meet the norm we started to call by the same word, dropout. In the 1960s, we created a stereotype of the high school dropout because it became easier to label a shrinking minority as out of step with the modern world. I'm Sherman Dorn, and this is one of my projects in the history of education.